Today, the Korean drama will lead you to watch it in one sitting. The actor accidentally met a disabled fan on the road. It just so happened that the girl's wheelchair malfunctioned, and now she was shivering in the snow. When the girl is helpless and desperate, the male star actually stopped the car and walked towards her. He also took the initiative to open an umbrella for her, who was disabled. This scene can't help but give people a tongue-in-cheek moment. She had liked him for 13 years, but she was just an avid star chaser. She never dreamed of meeting her favorite idol. Instantly, tears welled up in her eyes. Seeing her little hands red from the cold, the male star also offered to give her his own heating pad. At this moment, she finally couldn't help but burst into tears. Afterwards, she pointed to the slogan of running behind the good boy and told him she was a fan. Many years ago, it was his encouragement that gave her the courage to survive. When she heard that the good boy was going to send her home, an undisguised excitement appeared on her face. But just as she was immersed in this joy, the sudden appearance of a girlfriend ruined this hard-won opportunity to be alone with her idol. 13 years ago, a car accident paralyzed her for life. She had tried to commit suicide countless times. Then, the phone rang suddenly. After answering, on the other side came the recording scene of a show. A star named Shanzai was executing a challenge. Shanzai had been debuting for 2 months and introduced himself, not expecting that the person on the other end didn't know him at all. As the lucky guest of the show, the program group had prepared a pair of shoes that could be tried on for travel or a bicycle. Neither of these two gifts could be used by her. The sudden realization poked at her pain point, and she told them loudly that her wish was to stand up again. If they couldn't help, they shouldn't call someone who was being honest. The sudden change made the program team a little embarrassed. Before she could hang up the phone, Shanzai rushed to encourage her. He said that living like this was a kind of challenge, and the people around her wanted to say thank you, so she had to try to live today because the weather was really nice. He mentioned that it would rain tomorrow, but she could wait for the rain to stop and keep trying to live. Then maybe one day, she would feel that it was actually pretty good to be alive. Shanzai's words gave her the courage to live. 3 years later, Shanzai became the top star in Korea, and she became his biggest fan. She and her mother, brother, and grandmother, who had Alzheimer's, lived together. She once spent 3 million won to buy a watch purchased by Shanzai. Today was the day of Shanzai's concert, and before leaving, she had specially made a white statement to express her love for him. But due to her physical disability, by the time she arrived, the concert had already started. Relying on her condition, the staff allowed her to enter, but because she had dropped her ticket on the bus, she failed to get in. Still, she couldn't resist her admiration for him. Unlike others, she chose to support him from the sidelines. After the concert, while heading to the bus stop, her electric wheelchair suddenly lost power. Thinking about everything that had gone wrong for her that day, she couldn't help crying anymore. The cold made her shiver. Coincidentally, Shanzai appeared in front of her, holding an umbrella. After returning home, she always treasured that umbrella, taking it out from time to time to admire it, along with the heating pad. For a star-chasing woman, these items truly beat all jewelry. Every night before bed, she would look at his photos, and the corners of her mouth would rise uncontrollably. Shanzai had become the most important spiritual pillar in her heart. But what she never expected was that later that day, she suddenly saw the news of her idol's suicide. She couldn't believe what she was reading. They had just met a few hours ago. How could such a huge change happen? Unable to accept this reality, she rushed out of the house desperately, wanting to go to the hospital to ask about the situation. But in her panic, she accidentally fell into the river. When she woke up, she found herself in an unfamiliar place, confused about her identity. Then, something strange happened. She accidentally pressed the fan button on the watch, and time around her instantly stopped. To her shock, she realized she had traveled from 2023 back to 2008. Not only that, but her legs were miraculously healed. Thinking she was dreaming, she hurried to find Shanzai. At this time, he was secretly in the swimming pool. Seeing him safe and sound, she couldn't help but feel excited and happy. She ran towards him and hugged him tightly, blaming herself for not paying attention to his emotions and letting him suffer alone. She expressed her love for him, saying she would give everything to him. In this emotional moment, she was dragged out by the staff. Still dazed, she wondered why she hadn't woken up from this dream. She remembered clearly that she had brought the watch with her. After fumbling in her pocket, she found the watch that had brought her across time. She began to think she might be dying, associating her situation with the mythical bridge to the underworld. After a while, Shanzai saw her squatting by the bridge and tried calling out to her a few times, but she didn't respond. The mystery of her time travel and the fate of her idol remained unresolved, leaving her in a state of confusion and desperation. Shanzai pushed the watch, causing it to fall to the ground. The elements meet the good boy again, leaving Rensu questioning if it's really Shinshin Xiaonan. Determined to understand the situation, he takes out his work and finally confirms that the good boy is indeed dead. Sunjae attempts to return the watch, but Rensu refuses, claiming it originally belonged to him. Without waiting for Shanzai's reaction, the elements invite him to cross the bridge with them, expressing that since they didn't realize how lonely he was in life, they won't let him go alone in death. Confusion sets in as Su notices the road number has changed, but Dong Goodwill doesn't understand what he's talking about and turns to leave. Desperate, Su blocks his path but fails to stop him, resorting to hugging the good boy from behind and begging to live together. Shocked by this sudden outburst, Shanzai quickly hails a taxi and leaves, leaving Su dumbfounded. The moment is interrupted by a call from his mother, scolding him for skipping class. Returning home, Shanzai reflects on Rensu's strange behavior. His attention is caught by the watch on the table, identical to the one given to him. Before he can make sense of it, someone arrives at the door. The decorations match those from 2008, leaving him in disbelief. He assumes his mother must have redecorated, but upon entering, he's stunned to see her looking much younger. She scolds him for skipping class, but his focus shifts to the calendar on the wall, June 2008. Realizing he's somehow traveled back in time, Rensu is overwhelmed. His grandmother, who hasn't yet developed Alzheimer's, confirms the reality of the situation. Emotions surge as he takes in the familiar surroundings, but his joy is short-lived. The realization hits. This is before his car accident. Fear grips him as he wonders if fate will repeat itself. Clutching his legs tightly, he dreads the thought of losing them again, unsure if this reality will vanish like a dream. Determined to confirm this isn't an illusion, Rensu heads to school. At the gate, he spots Shanzai, the boy he's been trying to return the watch to. Memories of Shanzai's tragic fate in 2022 flood his mind, and as rain begins to fall, he notices how the Shanzai of 2008 mirrors the one from the future, both offering him an umbrella. When Shanzai questions where he got the watch, nearby students assume Rensu is being bullied, forcing Shanzai to pull him away. Rensu, claiming to be a fan, confuses Shanzai, who hasn't yet debuted. Changing the subject, Shanzai asks why Rensu cries every time he sees him. Rensu lies, saying he's reminded of a dog, but Shanzai doesn't press further and returns the watch. From a distance, Rensu watches Shanzai, realizing he is over a decade before returning to 2022. Unsure how to get closer, he's interrupted by the smell of smoke. Worried for Shanzai's health, he jumps into a group of smoking students, only to be dragged away by Tai Ching, a guitarist he once admired. To his shock, Tai Ching behaves like a delinquent, leaving Rensu questioning his past tastes. When the dean arrives, Tai Ching flees, leaving Rensu holding the cigarette. Mistaken for a troublemaker, he's punished, just as Shanzai walks by. The good boy now sees him as a delinquent, despite Rensu's frantic explanations. His attempts to connect with Shanzai are failing, and even his friend Xian Pig doubts his sanity after his erratic behavior. The next day, Rensu spots Shanzai on the bus. When the crowd jostles him, he assumes Shanzai is helping him, only to realize it was for someone else. Determined to prove he doesn't smoke, he shoves his fingers in Shanzai's face, forcing him to smell them. Later, Rensu notices a poster for an upcoming swimming competition, the same event where Shanzai will injure himself and quit swimming. Rushing to warn him, Rensu reveals the future, but time suddenly freezes, leaving him in stunned silence. The consequences of altering fate remain unknown. A jump of legs is recorded for the baby. Can't say it when you see it. Element uses his mobile phone to type out what he wants to say, but the result is still the same. Time stands still again as the words on the phone gradually disappear. Subsequently, he goes back to the classroom and validates what he found. Knowing that he can't reveal what will happen in the future, humans can only try their best to persuade the good boy to give up the game. But Shanzai doesn't listen at all. Finally, when he can't get through to him, humans can only pretend to be gods and block Shanzai on his way home. They say he was wrapped around a virgin who fell into the water and died unjustly, warning him to stay away from water for 3 days, or else his life will be in danger. If he doesn't get even, he has a little face. You don't have to ask for a big law all day long. Just drop this case for me. But Shanzai can't let go. Hearing such ridiculous words, Shanzai doesn't believe it at all. Seeing his disbelief, humans reveal intimate details about the good boy. There's a mole under his collarbone and a scar on the palm of his left foot. The good boy, stunned by this knowledge, is finally frightened, and the humans leave with peace of mind. On the way home, Rensu meets Tai Ching and the two walk home, talking and laughing. Suddenly, the good boy appears in front of them. This time, the matter of pretending to be a goddess is exposed. Furious at being tricked, Shanzai doesn't wait for an explanation and storms off. That night, the good boy can't sleep, his mind filled with thoughts of people never letting him swim. Confused and restless, he heads to the school swimming pool. Meanwhile, his nemesis also arrives at the pool, intending to steal Shanzai's swimming trunks to sabotage his game. Just as he's about to take them, Rensu suddenly appears. The commotion catches Shanzai's attention, and as he approaches, the nemesis flees. Rensu hides, but Shanzai, finding nothing unusual, changes clothes and prepares to leave. Suddenly, he hears a noise in the clothes basket. As he checks, a person jumps out, startling him. To avoid being recognized, Rensu covers his face with a towel and runs, but Shanzai catches him by the pool. In the struggle, they both fall into the water. Realizing Rensu was trying to steal his trunks, Shanzai is baffled. Why would Rensu go to such lengths to stop him from competing? Unable to explain the truth, Rensu lies, saying he had a nightmare about Shanzai getting injured during the game and was only trying to protect him. But every time Rensu tries to tell the truth, time stops, preventing Shanzai from hearing it. Frustrated, Shanzai refuses to listen and storms off. Later, as Rensu walks home, lost in thought, he nearly gets hit by a car. The near miss triggers a traumatic memory. In his past, he lost both legs in an accident. Just as another car approaches, Shanzai appears and pulls him to safety. In that moment, the watch on Shanzai's wrist activates, revealing a surprising truth. Shanzai has always had a crush on Rensu. This chance encounter was actually their first meeting, where Shanzai fell for him at first sight. He later approached Rensu under the pretense of borrowing a videotape, but mistakenly took an adult film, fleeing in embarrassment. After the incident at the pool, Shanzai's friend calls to inform him that his nemesis was the one who stole the trunks, not Rensu. Realizing his mistake, Shanzai rushes to apologize. He explains that he must compete, not just to win, but to prove Rensu's nightmare wrong. Seeing his determination, Rensu stops interfering and decides to trust him. The next day, during the competition, Rensu watches nervously, fists clenched. To his relief, Shanzai not only avoids injury but wins first place. Just when Rensu thinks fate has been changed, disaster strikes. Overjoyed by his victory, Shanzai isn't excited about the win. He's thrilled he can finally confess to Rensu. That night, as he walks Rensu home, Shanzai makes several flustered expressions, psyching himself up to confess. His roommate, returning home, witnesses the scene and teases him. Shanzai admits his feelings, saying he planned to confess after winning. His roommate advises him to wait for the right moment. Outside, Shanzai is lost in thought, imagining his confession. Misreading his silence, Rensu assumes he's in a bad mood, until Shanzai admits he's just hungry. Rensu takes him to a restaurant, but not the one Shanzai wanted. Disappointed but hiding it, Shanzai remains silent. Over the meal, Rensu, still feeling like this is all a dream, is thrilled to be dining with his idol. Shanzai, unable to contain himself, asks about Rensu's relationship with Taiching. Learning there's nothing between them, he secretly celebrates. Later, when Rensu asks what's been bothering him, Shanzai sees his chance. But just as he's about to confess, he's interrupted. 5 cups have passed, and the moment is lost. The scene opens with a moment of tension as Element realizes he needs money. The reason becomes clear. He's standing in the exact spot where a photo was taken, the very first picture of him and Shanzai together. As they wait for the photos to finish, Shanzai gathers the courage to confess his feelings. Just as he's about to say those 3 important words, "I like you," the moment is abruptly interrupted by the sound of the photo machine completing its process. Later that evening, the two take the bus home, but Element suddenly feels unwell, too embarrassed to speak up. Coincidentally, a child in the back seat also needs to use the restroom, and Element hopes the child's request will give him an excuse to get off the bus. However, to his dismay, the child's mother simply pulls out a cup to handle the situation, leaving Element in despair. Fortunately, Shanzai steps in, claiming he needs to use the restroom, subtly showing he's aware of Element's discomfort. As they finally reach their destination, Shanzai's confession remains unspoken. Just as they're about to part ways, petals suddenly fall from the sky, creating a romantic atmosphere. Shanzai, unable to hold back any longer, finally expresses his feelings. But Element misunderstands, thinking Shanzai is joking. The moment is lost, leaving Shanzai disheartened. His roommate, who had scattered the petals, overhears the conversation and tries to comfort him, encouraging him not to give up. The next day, Shanzai trains at the swimming pool but is struck by intense shoulder pain after just a few meters. His condition is worse than expected. The doctor recommends a second surgery, effectively ending his swimming career. Devastated, Shanzai sits at the bus stop until evening when his father calls, unaware of his son's condition. His father has arranged a celebration with relatives, even buying plane tickets for Shanzai to train abroad, unknowingly rubbing salt in his wounds. Shanzai breaks down at home, and his father, realizing the truth, blames himself for not noticing his son suffering. He takes Shanzai back to the hospital, where the doctor confirms the severity of a shoulder injury. Outside the door, Element overhears the diagnosis and quietly cries. Learning of Shanzai's discharge, Element steals his grandmother's chicken soup and delivers it to Shanzai's father as a gesture of care. In return, Shanzai's father gifts Element a jar of Shisandra. Unaware that it's brewed with alcohol, Element drinks the entire jar and quickly becomes intoxicated. As he stumbles around, he spots Shanzai outside and follows him. Drunk and playful, Element's antics amuse Shanzai, though he tries to hide it. Eventually, the two sit together, listening to music until Element falls asleep on Shanzai's shoulder. The peaceful moment is interrupted when Element wakes, confused, and touches Shanzai's face, thinking he's dreaming. The intimate gesture stirs Shanzai's emotions, leading him to confess his love. Element, in his drunken state, reciprocates. The next day, Shanzai expects their relationship to blossom, but he's shocked to see Element accepting a confession from someone else, Taiching. At that very moment, Element is suddenly transported back to 2023, waking in a hospital bed. Confused, he asks the nurse for the current year and realizes he's returned to the present. Horrified, he remembers Shanzai's suicide and rushes to confirm the tragic news. Seeing Shanzai's grieving father outside the ward, Element breaks down. The police then show him a photo from his time in 2008, proof that his journey had indeed altered the past. Determined to change Shanzai's fate, Element rushes back to the site of his initial time travel, desperately pressing his watch until he's transported once more to 2008. This time, he arrives during a ritual performed by his mother. Disoriented, he struggles to recall his mission until he sees Shanzai and remembers he must save him. However, Shanzai is cold toward him, still hurt by Element's past behavior. Hoping to mend things, Element apologizes, blaming his actions on being possessed, even producing toilet paper from his pants as evidence. Shanzai remains unimpressed. Element then witnesses an agent handing Shanzai a business card, the same agent who would later lead Shanzai to fame and ultimately his downfall. Remembering the rumors and depression that drove Shanzai to suicide, Element resolves to stop him from accepting the offer. He sneaks into Shanzai's house, destroys the business card, and hides under the bed when Shanzai's father nearly catches him. When Shanzai returns to his room after a shower, he's startled to find Element on the floor. After a moment of confusion, he gently tends to him, adjusting the fan and brushing hair from his face. The closeness makes his heart race, but he quickly pulls away when Element wakes. Element explains his presence with a flimsy excuse, claiming he was knocked unconscious by a book, and tries to smooth things over. Shanzai, still bitter, brings up their past by the pool, but Element misunderstands, thinking he's referring to their drunken confessions. Frustrated, Shanzai storms off as Element apologizes again, insisting he remembers nothing from that night. The tension between them lingers, unresolved, as Element remains determined to change Shanzai's future, no matter the cost. The good boy who heard this was even more angry. He felt like he was directing and acting. After that, Rinsu also caught mosquitoes and almost fell into Shanzai's arms. Thanks to Shanzai's quick eyes and quick hands, he blocked it with his hands. If you stay like this, something will happen sooner or later. Shanzai wrapped the elements in a quilt and carried them out of the house. He told Rinsu that he didn't want to be friends with girls and also believed that there could be no purity between men and women, no clean friendship. In fact, Shanzai was still accepting others for others, worried about what to pursue, foreseeing what will happen in the future. Time stands still, so humans can only do these trivial comforts, sending some books that the good boy can't read. Although Shanzai doesn't understand, people never gave up the idea of saving the good boy. No so much kindness. If you know you have to sit up straight, you are not good. So many hundreds of grandchildren hate me. Apprentice, can you step on me for a while? Your dad said it's up to him. He said that you ticked QQ, and he didn't want to take me. The next day, Yuan in the phone found out that he was going to audition, so he quickly found Ren He and asked him why he brought the good boy. Ren Hyuk said that Shanzai did not go. Instead, he went to help his father. The elements breathed a sigh of relief, but just as he turned around, he accidentally fell to the ground. In Hyuk will be looking for his situation and told the good boy about the injury. Shanzai listened, put down what he was doing, and ran outside. Fortunately, he saw the person sitting on the bus. Unfortunately, the bus left. The people in the car had slept through the station. When he got out of the car, he was surprised to find this place a little familiar. This is when a drunk uncle appeared next to the elements. He kept harassing him, and the elements ran to the center of the bridge. This scene happened to be seen by the good boy who came. Look at Shinjai running towards him, memories lost in the human mind. suddenly appeared. This moment, Rensu finally remembered what happened back then. People who fell into the water in a car accident were saved by the good boy. He complained loudly about why the good boy wanted to save himself. This painful memory had always chosen to be forgotten, so when Shanzai called him, and when he appeared in front of him, people didn't remember. Although no one remembers, the good boy never forgot. From the beginning to the end, he has been in love with people. Rensu gave him a box of candy. Maybe that's the move that let the good boy, who wanted to commit suicide, change his mind. The good boy before and after the crossing saved the person once. Humans never thought that at a time when he didn't want to remember, the good boy would know his name, would save him, stand where he could reach. Every day, he could breathe the same air as Shanyai, look at the same sky, walk the same path. These were all unknown numbers at that time. He didn't realize until he faced the past again. Maybe those moments he shouldn't have missed, shining in a corner, the continuous signal sent to him. Don't miss the signal. Maybe that's why he traveled here. The sleeping good boy is awakened by the elements. It turns out that the elements want to share the rainbow in the sky with him. I can't see clearly when I see Shanzai. Elements also deliberately spray water to make the rainbow appear brighter. The elements are happy and hard on the top, the mother below. Elements got mom covered in water. He was so angry that he wanted to teach his daughter a lesson. Elements are dodging and inadvertently threw an underwear in front of Shanzai. While going to school, Shanzai just took out the bag with underwear and delivered it to people. Rensu thought that Shanzai was going to give him something early in the morning, but well, your show's income has arrived in 3 months. What's the matter? Hang one by one. No one will help you manage female stocks. No one will help you. Grandma or my aunts. The elements once again expressed their gratitude to the good boy. Shanzai is a little baffled. He doesn't understand why he thanked him twice in a row. Little did he know that Rensu apologized today, referring to the car accident before the crossing. Elemental took out a golf from the bag and told good boy it's a time capsule. They dug a hole to bury this thing in the ground. Elements reminded goodness that the stuff in here is very precious. It must be dug out at 12 p.m. on January 1st, 2023 to view. Then they will meet at the Han River Bridge. Good. I don't understand what the special meaning of this time is. Only humans know. That day is the date of Shinjai's death. And he did it because he wanted to use that promise and that realization to change Shanyai's thoughts of suicide in 2023. Since then, the elements especially cherish and treat the days together, offering to invite him to a movie. He's afraid he will be sad to hear about the swimming, so he tried his best not to let him hear, plugging his ears with headphones on the bus. Human math bike. Shanzai teaches patiently in the back until he learns. Turned on the crazy show of love mode, but it didn't take long for them to quarrel. Rinhee has a performance about to start, but a player is absent. There's no way to pull Shanzai to the rescue. The moment the music starts, it's like seeing the sparkling goodness again. The people in the audience can't help but get the inside story. After the show, the number of people saw the agent and remembered what the agent once said. Suenzai committed suicide because of bad reviews and rumors from fans. The number of people who thought this decided to block kindness, stopping him from entering the entertainment industry. Prepared to step forward, and he stumbled down the aisle. He waited until he got up to find that the good boy was gone. Finally, he waited for Shanzai at the door of his house at night and learned that Shanzai rejected the agent. People's suspended hearts just fell to the ground. Seeing people care so much about themselves, the good boy is secretly cool again. Later, Shanzai gave the prize to Rensu. He learned that Shanzai sang in public for the prize. The human element suddenly rises. It seems that you have no reason for me to be a servant. Oh brother, help the 6 young people train to a certain extent. You are not a training black person. 6, 2 meters. 6 and 4 are all in different houses. He left a message to people when he didn't come to study, saying he wanted to meet and chat in the park. Knowing that today is your destiny, Rensu replied to the message and rejected Shanzai. But as soon as the message was sent out, he saw Shanzai go out the door. Then it suddenly began to rain in the sky. Thinking that Shanzai will always be waiting for him in the park, in the end, Rensu couldn't help but go out. When he was about to leave with an umbrella, he suddenly welcomed a courier. This scene makes Rensu finally remember the first meeting with his Shanzai. He also remembered what Shanzai said. It was that time that he fell in love with himself. Only those who think of this understand. Good boys, love is not a whim. At this moment, people are eager to see the good boy, but were stopped by a taxi halfway through. A familiar bell instantly reminded him of the scene of being kidnapped. Looking at the driver's face again, humanity is more confirmed. This is the person who made himself lose his legs. Inner fear makes people instinctively choose to escape, but this time it's still the same, still kidnapped by a driver. Relying on memory, people know that there are knives in the car. He quickly cut the rope with a knife. Before this escape, Rensu also deliberately took the car keys, thinking it would stop the driver. The driver ended up driving another car. Drawing on previous experience, Rensu ran into the woods, but no matter how he escaped, the driver still caught up. He just feels that he can't escape fate. When the car is about to hit, Shanzai appeared with the police. Originally, Shanzai went home without waiting for people to come to the appointment. On the way back, he saw Rensu's umbrella. Shanzai felt something was wrong. He went to Rensu's house and didn't find Rensu, so he called the police. That's how he didn't get into a car accident and saved his legs. But at this moment, humans have traveled back to 2023. In 2023, people change their destiny. Not only is he not crippled, but movies that have even been shut out in the past are now company work. He took out his phone to search for news about Shanzai and was still in tears. He recalled the agreement with Shanzai to meet at Hanjiang Bridge. At this time, it was found that the time was 12:05. He ran as fast as he could to the appointed place, but there was no sign of the good boy. He thought Shanzai might have gone to retrieve what he had buried before, but when he arrived at the burial site, he made a shocking discovery. The building that had been there in 2008 had completely disappeared. Time had shifted again, bringing him back to Shanzai's concert. The scene was just as before. No humans attended, and yet the good boy still sang the song he had written for people. After the concert, snowflakes began to fall from the sky. At that moment, Rensu's phone was knocked to the ground, shattering the screen. The tragedy of history seemed to be repeating itself, mirroring past events. Desperate, Rensu rushed to the Han River Bridge, hoping to find the good boy there. As he waited in tense anticipation, his phone suddenly rang. When he answered, the person he had longed to see finally appeared before him. Rensu approached Shanzai, tilting his umbrella toward him with care. Shanzai, surprised, asked why Rensu was there. In that moment, nothing could have been more touching than those words. Just as the two were lost in the emotion of their reunion, the moment was abruptly shattered by a colleague calling out to Shanzai, reminding him to attend a celebration banquet. The interruption made Rensu recall something the police had said earlier, and a sense of urgency gripped him. Determined not to let Shanzai leave, Rensu grabbed him, insisting that he stay with him for the night. Though hesitant at first, Shanzai eventually agreed, refusing the banquet and instead taking Rensu to a hotel. During their conversation, Shanzai mentioned the time capsule they had buried, but both were too proud to admit they had been there. The mood shifted when Rensu saw social media posts accusing Shanzai of going to hotels with girls, sparking jealousy. To make matters worse, Rensu had left a game company's cartoon character figures at Shanzai's place. When Shanzai discovered them, he panicked, hiding them under the blankets to avoid being labeled an otaku. But as soon as he stepped out, he overheard Rensu planning to check ancient texts for the new year, adding to the confusion. The tension between them grew, one unsure how to stay, the other trembling with nervous excitement. Eventually, Rensu suggested touring the house, but after seeing everything, he pretended to be hungry to avoid being kicked out. However, Rensu's boss soon discovered the truth about Shanzai bringing someone home, leading to an awkward confrontation. As emotions ran high, Rensu confessed everything, admitting he had been there that night and revealing his long-buried feelings. But before Shanzai could fully process the confession, Rensu left. Realizing it wasn't an illusion, Shanzai chased after him, and after years of separation, the two finally reunited. However, their happiness was short-lived. The criminal who had once hurt Rensu had escaped, and now Shanzai was his target. Rensu, consumed by guilt, learned that the attacker was the same man who had kidnapped him years ago. Shanzai had saved him then, leading to the criminal's grudge. Desperate to change fate, Rensu searched frantically for the watch that could send him back in time. His grandmother provided the answer. The watch was in her possession. With the watch in hand, Rensu traveled back to 2009, arriving in an embarrassing position atop a university statue. When he fell, Shanzai appeared just in time to catch him. Overwhelmed with guilt, Rensu ran away, leaving Shanzai confused. Determined to protect Shanzai this time, Rensu went to the police, providing detailed information about his future kidnapping and the criminal's identity. At a university team-building event, Rensu tried to avoid Shanzai, but his efforts backfired. Shanzai confronted him, asking why he kept running away. Unable to explain, Rensu broke down, crying and begging Shanzai to stay away from him. Even though he loved him deeply, he would rather sacrifice their relationship than see Shanzai hurt. Heartbroken but resolute, Shanzai decided to leave for treatment in the US. On the day of his departure, Rensu stood at the airport, watching as the plane took off, his heart heavy with unspoken emotions. The scene opens with people smiling, but at the same time, a surge of grief fills the heart. There is happiness, knowing Shania will no longer encounter murderers, and is finally out of danger, but sadness lingers because love was pushed away with his own hands. The intention was to change the trajectory of the murderer, But instead, Rensu returns from the airport and encounters the killer again at the door. The sight of a familiar car triggers an instant sense of danger, prompting him to turn and run. As he flees, he crosses paths with Shanyai. Seeing the approaching car and the good boy ahead, fear grips him, worried Shanyai might lose his life because of him again. Rensu yells for him to leave. Just then, a truck approaches but doesn't hit them, instead driving away. After the truck passes, Rensu collapses into Shanyai's arms. It's revealed that before this, as Shanyai was about to go through security, he suddenly spots a poster about a time capsule. Remembering he once buried one with Rensu, he rushes to dig it up. Inside, he finds messages left for him, finally understanding what Rensu had done. He learns Rensu might die in 2023 and realizes the guilt he carries because of it. Shanyai, unafraid, firmly tells Rensu they can face it together. At this moment, Rensu lets go of his guilt and accepts Shanyai's love. From this day forward, the two are in love again. Meanwhile, Rensu hatches a plan to lure the trafficker to his doorstep, allowing the police to ambush and capture him. Unfortunately, Shanyai learns of this dangerous plan through Rensu's mother. After making arrangements, Rensu relies on vague memories to return to a familiar commissary, waiting until 5 a.m. when the police arrive. He then walks to the street where he was once kidnapped, standing in the exact spot. Suddenly, footsteps approach from behind. Just as a hand touches him, Rensu shouts for the police, only to turn and see it's not the trafficker but a security guard. Nearby, the real trafficker, Jin Yongju, witnesses this and flees. Shanyai, who had seen Jin Yongju on TV, recognizes him and gives chase. Things take an unexpected turn. Rensu, sensing something wrong, suddenly remembers a dream of a cliff's edge and rushes there. Sure enough, he arrives to find Shanyai and Jin Yongju fighting. The police quickly arrest Jin Yongju, but Shanyai, stabbed, falls off the cliff. The story reflects on growth. Time and again, Rensu's journeys through time were meant to save Shanyai, yet in the end, Shanyai still meets his fate. The next day, Shanyai's body is found, and Rensu notices the watch on his wrist flickering. Realizing it could allow time travel, he presses it and instantly arrives in 2023. This time, Rensu deliberately avoids Shanyai, despite the pain it causes. He believes this is the only way to ensure Shanyai's survival. Compared to Shanyai's life, Rensu is willing to sacrifice their love. Soon after, the Su family moves away, and all traces of their relationship disappear. Photos, songs, everything. Time jumps to 2023. Rensu now works as a screenwriter, having turned his 4 time travel experiences into a script. However, his boss rejects it. Unexpectedly, his best friend sends the wrong script, Rensu's, to Shanyai. Though Shanyai doesn't remember their past, the script feels eerily familiar, stirring deep emotions. He decides to take part in the project, but Rensu refuses, making excuses about incompatible zodiac signs and saying cruel things to push him away. Despite repeated attempts, even offers to work for free, Rensu continues rejecting Shanyai. His stubbornness frustrates his boss, who sees value in collaborating with a star like Shanyai. Finally, Rensu makes a drastic decision. He quits his job to avoid working with Shanyai, handing in his badge and leaving the company. Alone, Rensu visits an amusement park, the familiar surroundings flooding him with memories of happier times with Shanyai. As he sits on the Ferris wheel, lost in thought, Shanyai suddenly appears, having come to shoot an ad that was abruptly cancelled. The past and present collide, leaving their fate uncertain once more. People don't understand the good boy. Shanzai is questioned about why he has to be in this show, and he reveals that after reading the script, he cries unconsciously and even dreams about it. The story feels so real to him, as if he's lived through it himself. When he visits the amusement park for the first time, he's struck by an overwhelming sense of familiarity. This deep connection makes the project more appealing to him than any other work he's done. Rensu tells Shanzai that as long as he stays true to himself, luck will follow. He then asks Shanzai if he'll continue with the project. Before Shanzai can answer, the Ferris wheel suddenly malfunctions, causing Rensu to fall into Shanzai's arms. In the chaos, Rensu accidentally notices the necklace around Shanzai's neck, the very same one he had once given to him. The sight of it shocks him. He had believed that crossing time and space would erase everything, yet here it is, back where it started. The necklace's return makes it impossible not to believe in fate. Later, as Shanzai waits for the bus after finishing work for the day, he pulls out the watch he took from Rensu's house. Staring at it, a flood of familiar images rushes into his mind, followed by a sharp headache. Then, he sees passersby holding yellow umbrellas, and suddenly, long-buried memories surge violently into his consciousness. Every moment he shared with Rensu comes back to him in vivid detail. Overwhelmed by the revelations, Shanzai's eyes fill with emotion as he realizes the truth. He can't wait any longer. he has to find Rensu. But as he rushes across the road, his headache strikes again, leaving him disoriented. At that very moment, the murderer, Kim Yongju, spots him and, filled with malice, speeds toward him with the intent to hit him. Just before impact, another car swerves in, screeching to a halt and barely avoiding disaster. In the ensuing chaos, the murderer seizes the opportunity to flee once more. Taiching, witnessing the scene, chases after him without hesitation. The desperate Kim Yongju, trying to escape, recklessly dashes into the road, only to be struck and killed by a speeding truck, his body falling into the river below. The terrifying devil who had haunted them is finally gone. Meanwhile, Rensu learns of Shanzai's accident and rushes to the hospital in a panic. When Shanzai regains consciousness, he ignores his own weakness and immediately starts searching for Rensu. Drawn together by fate, the two finally reunite. The moment their eyes meet, Shanzai pulls Rensu into a tight embrace, holding him as if he'll never let go. With deep emotion, Shanzai confesses that he remembers everything now. No matter how many times they've crossed time and space, no matter how much they've tried to suppress their feelings, those who love each other will always find their way back. In the end, they will run toward each other just to fall into each other's arms once more. And so, under a sky filled with cherry blossoms, the two make a lifelong promise to stay together, finally living a life free of regrets, a love that defies time itself.